Hey, everybody. Welcome to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast, episode 66. We're here with the former Texas manager, Jeff Banister. He's from Texas, went to Lamarck High School, junior college at Lee College, was a JUCO All-American, went to the University of Houston, and was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates. With the Pirates as a player and coach, nearly 30 years, served as the bench coach with the Pirates. And then from 2015 to 2018 was the manager for the Texas Rangers, was the 2015 AL Manager of the Year. And last season you were player development with the Pirates. And, so episode 66. Thank you, Coach Banister, Jeff, however you want to be called. Thank you for joining the show.
Well, we'll put it informal. You can call me Jeff. You can call me Banny. I think the last time I heard Jeff was when my mother was calling me when I was 12. So you can treat it however, but hey, it's a pleasure to be on with you guys and looking forward to the conversation.
Going through your story, me and Chad were talking, there was a lot of adversity early as a player through the high school years, and it kind of talk about getting through that and then just pushing, because there's a lot of guys wouldn't it's easy to fold and stop the grind and put those dreams on the back burner.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you. There were a lot of times that, and just kind of refresh all of it. I mean, in a quick synopsis, reconstructive knee surgery when I was, a sophomore in high school. When I was junior in high school, bone cancer, 7 different ankle surgeries, a freshman in college, broken neck, 3 cervical vertebrae that had to be repaired, paralysis for a while. So listen, there were times that I wanted to quit and give up. I mean, it was, when you talk about the ultimate beat down in a situation where it's not just mentally, but emotionally. There were times that I was same hospital room for 4 months. And at one point had my mother shut the blinds so I didn't want to see outside. If I couldn't go outside. So the mental side of, where do you take yourself? And for me, and I tell people who want to know that, you got to find a way to take yourself into a different place. And the reason why I had them shut the blinds is so I could, what's crazy, you get in times like that are, the senses, other senses become so much more heightened. My sense of smell, my sense of hearing became so much greater because I could hear the outside, and I could, when people would leave the elevator coming down the hallway, their perfume or cologne would hit the room before they got there. I knew who they were, or the cadence of their walk. And so for me, the ability to put myself, and this is why I tell kids, you have to be able to dream, right? You got to dream yourself into what you want to be or what you think you can be. Because if we don't have that, we don't have the drive that's going to allow us to push through shitty times, if it's okay for saying that. It's just because, laying in a hospital bed and not being able to go anywhere and having people tell you, well, your chance of living here is very minimal. Your chance of your leg surviving, we're going to have to cut your leg off. Mentally, emotionally, that's a tough deal, right? And so the push, the grind, the grit, that's all forged daily and hourly, and it's easy to give up. And there were times I wanted to, and I'll get to the idea of, there are so many people, and this is where, parents, coaches, mentors, friends, people around you, you'll have people tell you, look, you need to surround yourself with the right type of people. Well, you have to have the right type of people in your life that when crappy times come, that you need them to help motivate, push you, because you can't do it on your own. And I've never did any of this on my own. I went through an interview a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the very subject that, you know, because of the idea, the question was asked, you know, when you reach the big leagues, you got your first hit, you stand on first base, what went through your mind? And I said, all the people, the trailer of people that I had carrying them all the way down first base, because I couldn't get there by myself. Because if you put everything in reverse, the times that I wanted to quit, the times I wanted to close my eyes and just give up, there was always somebody that was there to challenge me not to, whether it was my dad, my mom, my sister, the nurses, doctors, friends. And that's where people around you, you know, parents, stop talking to your kids about, you know, scholarships. Stop talking to your kids about, you know, their 4 for 4s or their 0 for 4s. Start talking to them about their emotional state and where they're at and what it makes it feel like and what do they really want to do in life. Because we have a really good, you know, us parents or coaches sometimes, if we don't find out where these players want to be in the end of it all, we don't know how to put them on a pathway of success.
And it puts it into perspective. You know, what's really important, you know.
So here's what's important for every athlete, right? Is you know, I'll take it from the coaching side of it. You as an athlete, you always wanted to know if your coach could help you get better, right? Did he have the skill set and the knowledge to help you get better? But in a bigger picture perspective, did he really care about you? Did he care about you enough to tell you the truth when we didn't? I mean, there were times I didn't want to hear the truth. I didn't want to hear that I sucked. None of us do, right? We don't want to hear that we don't need to go out and spend another 30, 40 minutes in you know, going through the monotonous grind of hitting balls off a tee, right? Or taking another 50 to 60 ground balls, or running a couple of extra, you know, gassers, or being in the weight room for the next hour. But, you know, having somebody that can tell you the truth and push you through that and not tell you, oh, everything's all right, because it's not. That's the thing. And I'm not trying to be, you know, look negative, take the negative side of it. It's just, you know, do you care about me enough to tell me the truth? If my 0 for 4 was sucked and I was chasing everything out of the zone, then don't tell me, you know, he had some really good swings. No, I didn't. I know the truth. But also understand there might be times I don't, you know, I might have had an argument with my girlfriend or something like that, and I just wasn't there. Can you pull me back? Can you, as a coach, can you pull me mentally, emotionally back to a place where I need to be to focus in on? And that's where players need to give their coaches that pathway. And as coaches, we need to learn, you know, where have these kids been before? And stop telling them that, well, if we can manufacture this swing or manufacture this arm stroke, that you're going to be a great player. That's not the truth. You got to have great athleticism. You got to have a great motor skill. But more than anything else, you got to have a great desire to want to compete. Can you teach me how to compete on a daily basis? And that's the difference, right? And then, you know, parents, get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Let your kids, you know, stop having those conversations with your kids with your eyes on the road and they're staring at the back of your head and you're like, well, I can't believe that you swung and chased. You know, look, mom, dad, all I care about is what's my next meal, and you know, do you really love me enough when I suck, and you're not up there yelling at me because you're embarrassed that I didn't perform well today.
Yeah, that's a quick way to be driven away from the game.
Well, and that is, and I tell parents a lot of times that probably the number one derailer for a lot of these athletes, male or female, is that parental involvement. You know, is that relationship that it becomes an antagonistic relationship more than a supportive relationship. when you sign your kid up to go play a sport, right? Get out of the way. Be support. Be there. Show up. Show up whether they're good, whether they're bad, and learn to acknowledge their teammates' successes when your child doesn't have success. Because a lot of times that comparative denial, right? Well, somebody else's kid did really well today, and you're upset because your kid didn't. And well, little Johnny, he was lucky. Telling your own kid that, right? Well, no. Guess what? Allow them the opportunity to revel in the success of their teammates. That's building great teammate identity, right? And then the other thing is that teach them that inner competition is the greatest competition. The ability to compete with your own teammates to be better on a daily basis is what drives you to be better. Because the faceless and nameless people that we play against on a daily basis, look, they're easy to compete against, right? But I tell you, I was in AA at the time, and teammate, he was a guy that was supposed to be in my wedding, right? We were great friends. And he was a catcher also. And our locker room at the time was a trailer, and there's a little partition in between his locker and my locker. He didn't know that I was in the locker room already, sitting in front of my locker, and I could hear him talking to another one of our teammates. He's kind of just letting off steam. And at the time, I was struggling. I'd put together 3 or 4 games where I wasn't swinging the bat well. I was catching okay, but just we weren't winning and things like that. So, and I hear this conversation about he's upset that he's not playing. He should be playing because I suck. Because I suck. And that he was going to go talk to the manager. And he says, "Oh, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to quit. I don't like this. It's all political and all this." So I just peeked my head around the corner, and I grabbed his bag of his catcher's gear, and I rolled it around my side. And I said, "Thanks. If you're going to quit, you don't need this anymore. But you just gave me the competitive fire and drive to be better today. So thank you very much for being a great teammate." And that's kind of what we do, right? Is if we can't drive each other as teammates, how do we, again, the people that you surround yourself and the people that you rely on, because we can't do this by ourselves.
And keeping them in check, right?
Well, hey,
he's in your wedding, but I got to keep him in check.
For sure.
And that's tough. I mean, I don't know how many guys could take to that. You know what I mean? You've got to be, but again, you talked about that desire, like that's where I want to be. You're just fueling even more where I want to get to.
And you're right. And that's where you got to find that motivation is really, I love great speeches, right? You can turn on any YouTube and people have put together great inspirational speeches, right? But once you turn them off, they only last about 5-10 minutes, right? That feeling only lasts. So it's the ability to, again, I go back to it. What is the fuel of the day? Why do you got to find and we talk about it. It's not easy. We tell our athletes all the time, what is your purpose? Why do you put your feet on the floor? Right? When you get up in the morning, why do you put your feet on the floor? If you don't know that and you haven't really thought about it at all, you better find it out. And then, you got to find that gratitude, the gratefulness, right? Of every opportunity that you get to perform and be better at whatever you think your purpose is. Then that gratitude of, hey, I'm grateful for having the opportunity to do this. The two things in life that that will drive you the most is your own purpose, and then being grateful for the opportunity to be able to perform it. I get up every morning as a coach, right? My whole mission is to find a way to change the trajectory of another athlete or another person's life. That's it, plain and simple. Can I change their pathway? But I can't change it if I don't know where they've been. And then grateful to lay my head down and get up and do it again tomorrow without even thinking about, what is it? Never once have I ever thought about what's in it for me. And that's the thing, is that we put, as coaches, we got to put our own, we all played, right? We all played. And your greatest ability is to understand, and in baseball, right? Greatest ability is to understand what it feels like to go 0 for 4 or to give up a couple of home runs, lose a ball game. Because it's easy. It's easy to coach, and it's easy to lead, and it's easy to manage when everything's going well for all your athletes. But if you can't give them any sense of direction when chaos around you and things are breaking down. I mean, Elvis Andrus, 2015, Toronto, playoffs. He did something that I've never seen an athlete really do, make 3 errors in 1 inning. And it didn't lose the game for us. It was part of the dominoes that led to a loss. And it was, in the grand scheme of things, people say it was a devastating loss. Well, it was a loss is a loss, and you're right. But how we responded as a team to him and how he responded afterwards, people forget that he came back the next year and hit 300 and was I believe, an all-star. That would have crushed a lot of people, crushed a lot of athletes. But here's a guy that was able to have people around him said, you know what, bro, we got you. Wasn't all you. Just a moment in time. Will not define you. Use that as fuel and fire to be better. It's one of the things that I whispered in his ear at the end of that when we were in the locker room, and I could still hear all the fireworks going off in the stadium, and they were still celebrating. I said, this will be the fuel that will propel you on to greater things. And it was.
Was that the championship series?
It was, it was the league championship series, or divisional series. I'm sorry. It was when Bautista
did
the home run and flipped the bat.
You guys had I think you had was that game 5?
We had a 2-0 lead and lost 3 straight.
Yeah, I remember that. Baseball
has a cruel sense of humor, brother. Look, it's unlike any sport.
Yeah.
You can, so you guys like baseball. The movie The Natural. You know who Max Mercy is, right, in the movie?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The sports reporter.
Yep.
Well, there's a scene, and you look, and he's drawing 2 different characters on 2 different sheets of paper.
Hero.
Think about it. He had already written 2 stories.
Yeah.
It's just whoever shows up. You can be in baseball. You can be the GOAT 1 pitch before and the hero the very next pitch. Think about that. And then that's why this game is such a, it is emotionally and mentally, you have to have the ability to wash everything off, move on to the next. And you talk about that grit and resilience, unlike any other sport. You can't hide on the offensive line or defensive line. You can't hide in the backfield. You can't hide on the sidelines in baseball. It can't replace you in the middle of a transition, a new line in hockey where you're tired. So what? Guess what? We're not going to call it. There's no timeouts. we're going to keep playing.
Yeah, that was talk about too what you took away from that, because again, you were up 2-0, and just going forward, how that affected you as you manage and deal with your players, some of the lessons you got out of that series. I mean, because that was and was it as loud as it sounded? I remember watching it. It might have been one of the loudest atmospheres I'd seen.
Yeah, people. I still have tinnitus from. I mean, listen, it was 5 straight years of playoffs that I was involved in, dating all the way back to 2013. And prior to that game, the 2013 wild card game in Pittsburgh, when Cueto dropped the ball and Russell Martin hit a home run. I mean, it was Clint and I were standing next to each other, and we're screaming at each other, couldn't hear each other. And my ears, for weeks after that game, had ringing in them and still hurt. 2014, same thing. And I mean, in 2015, the stadium, you could feel the noise. That's how loud it was. You could feel it. You could feel the vibration of the noise and the yelling, and so it felt like the whole stadium was shaking. That's how loud it was. And it was, the lessons that I take away from those type of situations. I'm grateful to be in them. I look back on, all the challenges that it took to get to that moment, right? Everything that you go through, all the things that you tell your players, all the things that you ask your players to do, and then the ups and downs and the roller coaster that you ride with your players. Not separating yourself away from, the struggles. It's easy as a coach. Bad coaches, bad leaders separate themselves away from the challenges that their players have and their teams have. Like, oh, you know what? They have a bad stretch, right? And lose 3 or 4 games in a row. All of a sudden, we take it personally as a coach. Bad coaches do. They take it personally. And they start to separate themselves away from their players as opposed to immersing themselves inside whatever core values that you have as a coach. That's you double down. You double down on your core values. And you double down on, the things that you've told your players of where you are going to show up for them every single day. Again, it's easy to manage and coach when you're out in front. But most people forget about 2015 is that at the All-Star break, I believe we were 9 games back, 7 games under 500. And we're still as a coach.
Yeah, I was going to say it came down to like the last week, right? Or the last 2 weeks, or
the last day.
The last day, even better.
So we needed to win 1 game. We're playing the Angels next to the last day. We had climbed our way to the point to where we'd gotten ourselves in position to win the division. I mean, you think about we were 7-15 the first month of the season. 7-15. We dug a hole, and we were still under 500 at the trade deadline. So, and I'm still talking to coaching staff, still telling our guys we're going to win this division. I'm still telling the GM we're going to win this division. They're looking at us like we're telling the media, we're telling the fans we were going to win the division. They thought we were all nuts. But my belief is that when you have strong core values, strong belief system, and you are walking those players through that every day and telling, I don't care if they're 10, 11, 12, or 30 or 40. The people need something to believe in. And you can't get off of it in bad times. You double down. And so we continued that process. And on the next to the last day, we were up with 2 innings left, I think 7 runs. They had, in the tunnel behind me, the whole tunnel was full of people, troughs of champagne and sodas and police officers. They had, the whole locker room was already masked off with plastic, and we were celebrating, right? I watched that lead diminish in the matter of about 4 different pitchers. And I looked back behind me, and there was nobody. It happened so fast, I thought it was, my imagination seeing those people. We lost that game, and I walked into the coach's office, and I saw a group of coaches with their head down. I said, no, this ain't happening. This is what we got here. This is what we talked about. Why wouldn't we have one more gut punch? Why wouldn't we have one more rib broken? Why wouldn't we have more punch to the jaw, to the nose? We lost Yu Darvish on the very first day of spring training, right? And they told us we were done then. I said, I'm going to walk out here, and the media is going to tell me all the things that I did that were wrong, and that we suck, and that I suck, and that we're done, and there's no way we can recover. And I want you to walk out there and tell those players that tomorrow, it's our day. We have tomorrow. If we went out the first inning, Cole Hamels gave up a 2-run home run. We're down 2-0. And we just we talking about grit, resilience. We get down. Look, this is, stay focused, stay in it. Do not let that other crap creep in your brain. And we won the game, celebrated. And so when we went into that series and we won the first 2 games, here's what I'll tell you what I learned. Is you don't let up. You don't let yourself look up and breathe. Because when we did, we got passed up. And then I made some mistakes. In that inning, we talk about, Cole Hamels, the guy that I trusted, that I told the night before, the last game of the season, you're my starter, you're my middle guy, you're my setup guy, and you're the closer. There is nobody else coming in this game. I don't care what the numbers say. I'm not taking you out unless you tell me you need to come out. The guy that I trusted the most, I took out of that inning and brought in a guy that had been a beast for us in Sam Dyson. And he gives up a home run to Bautista. Now, why did my mentality change? Right? I looked up. I let myself breathe in that moment. Sometimes when you don't stay focused, things happen. And that's the thing that I've learned, is that there'll be time to enjoy all the fruits and the celebrations, but until you get there and finish the deal, somebody's got to keep their hands on the wheel. And that's what for me, staying in it, staying focused, staying engaged, and not letting yourself get too complacent.
We're high school coaches. We don't play 162 games, but thinking about that, is there a lot of instances where, being an analytics kind of driven game right now, with shifts and when to play matchups and stuff, how often do you just go from the gut?
Well, first of all, there is no such thing as going from the gut. And so you're telling me that feeling that you get in your gut, right, is not driven by your own knowledge of your team.
Sure.
right?
Right.
So,
right.
right. So
Maybe that's a much better way to say it.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have learned from some great people. I mean, my knowledge, it's all borrowed knowledge. Don't think we've come up with anything new.
Yeah.
All these guys that are out there saying, "No, no, listen, this game has been played for 200 years, right?" And there have been a lot of coaches who've had come up with a lot of things. It's borrowed knowledge, what we learn from and who we learn from, and so, Chuck Tanner learned from Danny Murtaugh. Danny Murtaugh learned from Bill McKechnie. I mean, Bill Verdon, Jim Leland. I mean, Tony. I mean, there's a long line of guys that I learned from, and so, one of the things I learned most is that your team better than anybody else knows your team, and if you pay attention, we talk about analytics. It's just analytics now. We have the ability to have computers and algorithms that give us information about what might happen, what should happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. So, but I'm fortunate enough to have learned as a catcher. I had to know every other guy on that team, on the opposing team. I needed to know how to call a game for the guy out on the mound. What could he do? What can he do in certain situations? What electrocutes him? And when are those anxiety moments that maybe those are the moments where maybe his fastball away starts to leak back over the middle of the plate because he has a guy on first base that can steal a base. And if I'm having him pay too much attention to that guy at first base, I know that this guy likes the ball out over the plate. And if this guy, I'm trying to get him to do something, maybe I stay away from that fastball and I go in a different direction. Those are all analytics. They just, we have a better way of having somebody else put in the numbers, spit them back out. So back on, how often do I go with my perceived gut? It is paying attention to your athletes, to their body language. So where are they at today? What conversation did I have with them the night before? What kind of conversations are my coaches having with them before the game? Where are they at mentally? Where are they at physically? So all those factors tell me a story. So now I'm letting my eyes watch. Do I see things differently? Is that separation a little late because he has a little twinge in that hamstring, or did he have a argument with his girlfriend before he got to the field and all of a sudden that's affected him? But that's all relationship driven, and that's what I'll tell you. So, there are times in those games that, okay, we go by the numbers. Everything's equal. There aren't any, extenuating factors. But when there are, you got to really pay attention. And I'll tell you this too. So in 162 games, the difference between our game and your game, you get to play on Tuesday, Wednesday. When you play your weekday game?
Tuesday, Fridays.
Tuesday, Friday. So you got Wednesday and Thursday in between, right? You got Saturday, Sunday, Monday in between. You've got a lot of opportunity to have a lot of conversations, right? And then you have a lot of opportunity for guys to have downtime. And they have the ability to recover. So you can put all your chips in any single game. You can go for any single game, right? At all cost.
Yeah.
Where in my game, you try to chase that win, you're 4 runs down, it's in the 6th inning, and you put the whip to your bullpen, well, we're going to win this game, right? You might win it, but you might lose the next 4 because that's the difference in where, the casual fan looks at baseball and goes, well, why are they making those moves, right? Well, because guess what? I don't feel that we have the personnel tonight and we're a little banged up, I need for some guys just to, hey, stand down. If we come back and win this game, it's because somebody else did something that we didn't expect them to do. But it's going to win us 2 or 3 games down the road as opposed to lose us 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It's funny you see people on social media. Oh, they should have taken that guy out. Well, you hear you talk, and it's like they don't hear how the day started when the guy first got to the clubhouse. They're not seeing what happened 2 nights before, who's in the training room, and who just got sent up. They're just concerned about that one moment in time when it took 1,000 other things to affect that one moment.
Right, and that's our game. That is the professional game. That's the major league game, right? And don't think that our mentality, and that's where, so, when I stand in front of our players, they know that our mission is to go out and win tonight. It's not to lose, right? So that's how we talk. That's how we prepare ourselves. However, it becomes my decision as a manager is that, okay, when do we, Adrian Beltre, I know he's banged up. He's got a bad calf. It's the 5th inning, 6th inning. We're down 7 runs, right? He's probably got 2 more at bats. But are those two at bats tonight for him most important, or is it let's get him off the field, get him in the clubhouse, in the training room, start some treatments. Let's give that guy that on the bench an opportunity, should be prepared to go out and use his skill set to help us get back into the game, right? I got to make that decision. This is the first game of the road trip. It's we in the middle, or we at the end. We have a day off coming in the next 7 days, things like that. And so those are factors that, and I don't want fans to think along those lines, because I want fans to be emotionally invested in every single pitch and every single inning, and to believe in that if we're down 7 in the 5th, that we have a chance to come back, right? That's because that's the energy that you need on a nightly basis when things are pretty mundane.
Yeah, I think the more, the bigger fan of the game and team, they probably do understand that. It's that person in the playoffs that's doesn't quite get it. They hadn't followed the team, all year, every game, seeing the grind that they put in. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably who mostly questions that stuff. I was talking to a player that you worked with, actually helped set this up, Chris Jones, and he'd talked about how just fantastic you were in player development with the Pirates, and Chad and I were talking about, what are some things when you started doing player development, or some of the key things, like when you meet a group for the first time, or some traits you're looking for and things to work with to help develop these guys?
Well, first of all, I want to know, where is their competitive level mentally? Each individual player, I want to know, do you like to compete? You going to back off? You going to dive in? Are you an angry competitor? Are you a submissive? All those things about you, right? That tells me a story of kind of where you've been. Now, I want to know your physical abilities, and I want to know your emotional abilities. What I mean by that is that, hey, do you ride the highs and lows where these big giant peaks and valleys, right? Emotionally, success, failure, it's that manic and that really, how are you? Are you a good teammate? Do you show up every day, and do you make a difference in a teammate? All those things, those ingredients tell me, can you be in this for the long haul? And then I want to look at you as a player long enough to understand how you work physically. If you're a pitcher, how does that kinetic chain of events that go on? Can you stay over the rubber? Where is your arm stroke? How do you separate? Mechanically, how do you work? As a hitter, what is your motor skill like? What kind of swing do you have? What can I envision you to be further down the road? What are you right now? And then, all those factors, right? And then I want to find out, do you like to play the game? Do you really want to show up and play this game every single day? Because once I have all those things kind of checked off, right, then we can start formulating a plan physically, emotionally, and mentally to change your course of direction. Every player sits on a trajectory physically. We're all limited physically in what our body is going to allow us to do. My guess is neither one of you were 6'1" runners. Right? I mean, but yet, I can look at you and say, okay, we got a little thump in the back, we got some barrel, or we got a good strong arm, we got power arm. So I want to make sure that we put you on the best pathway of success, utilizing your own skill set, right? And then can I challenge that on a daily basis to get incrementally better? Where a lot of coaches make mistakes is that they try to get their players to transform overnight. And this game does not, you think about, so take Chris, goes to high school, plays in high school, goes and plays in college, right? Signs a professional contract to come play. And think about the thousands of swings that he had taken before he'd ever gotten to pro ball. Think about the thousands of pitches that he'd caught before he ever got to pro ball. And now you take a coach like, just a coach looks at him and goes, "Bop, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong," in one day. And then is going to give him all his coaching skill and advice in one 24-hour period. I tell young coaches, sit back, listen, watch. Give yourself enough time to absorb. Use your ears and your eyes to understand what that player really is. Because we don't know. And I'm not against facilities and kids going in and getting work in. What I am a little concerned with at times is, manufactured swings in a facility, manufactured pitching mechanics in a cage. Because that shit changes when an umpire says play ball, and there's in that one-on-one relationship between the pitcher and the catcher, and he starts, it's 94 up around here, or it's a nasty slider, or you as a pitcher throw that what used to be a really good change up, and all somebody whacks that shit out of the ballpark. Who are you now? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
How do you respond? And then, are you coachable? Right? We get to that. Are you coachable? Can you absorb what that coach or that instructor is telling you? And can you take that out and translate that on the field? And it doesn't happen in 1 day or 2 days. It's every player that I've ever been around. The one thing that I can promise them is that I'm in it till the end, whatever the end is. I'm in it with you till the end.
It kind of sounds like you take it personal, because to me, I'm hearing you talking. It sounds like it's a tough job. Like, you've got to invest into all of them that you're working with, and some aren't going to make it there, and that's got to be heartbreaking. and it's like it's just you sound like that's so passionate to you. I love it. I can't imagine how hard that is sometimes.
Well, it is. It's it is an investment, emotionally, mentally, mental investment with another human being. And it's hard for me to see some of these coaches who are able to separate that, right? I don't know how you separate it. We had I think it was 2016, I think it was, maybe that it was 15 or 16 probably. Chichi Gonzalez, Oral Roberts guy, right? We brought him up. I mean, this was a guy that I'd seen a little bit in spring training. Liked him, sinker baller. Had a little slider, change up. Wasn't overpowering. He tried to pitch bigger than he really was at times, and I like that. We roll him into Kansas City, and he's no hit in Kansas City. I think into the 6th or 7th inning, and I think the game was tied when he came out. He didn't get the win. We won the game, but he didn't get the win. And so we go back home, and it was either Friday or Saturday game, right? And it was a packed house. And he's starting the game. It's a rookie starting a game in Texas, and it wasn't a ticket to be had. And so, and he's rolling, and he gets to the point to where, pitch count wise, young guy, I'm going to protect him for the long haul, and we have a lead. And it might have been, I think it was right around the 7th inning or something like that. And so I make the decision to take him out in the middle of an inning. And I think he had 1 out or something like that, but got himself in a little bit of trouble. And so as he's a smart kid. And so I start walking out of the dugout, and he starts to walk down the mound. And I just kind of held my hand up. I said, no, stay there. And I walk out there, and the whole infield knew what was getting ready to happen. He knew what was getting ready to happen. And I told him, I said, I want you to stand here. I said, when I raise my right hand, this crowd is going to go bananas. You may never hear this noise again. I don't know. We don't know where your career is going to go. But I want you to stop and absorb this, because there's going to come a time that you're going to need to rely on this to help you through some challenging times. And I raised my right hand, that crowd went bananas. The reason why I tell you this story is, you talk about investment in players. I am a product of multiple times where, I thought I was on top of the world playing this game athletically and physically, and it was taken away. I know that for every game where we play, we're closer to the end than we were to the beginning. And the ability to invest in other people, right? It is a passion of mine. It's what I love, the light bulb moments for players, right? When you're working with a player and they're struggling, right? You're coaching them up, and you're trying to get them. You've done drills, you put them in situations, and then all of a sudden you see their facial expression because they get that feeling, right? And they got it, and they're going to lock it in, right? And they're going to be able to hold on to it maybe for the next 4 or 5 swings, but they'll be able to repeat it, somewhere down the line. And then the excitement when all things come together in the middle of a fielding a baseball, throwing a baseball, or hitting a baseball, running the bases. Those are the things that electrocute me. And so, but I was a 25th round pick who showed up at Pirate City, in a van with the 2nd round pick and the 3rd round pick. And they went and picked their bags up and didn't pick mine up. I carried my own. And I told myself, you know what? Once we sign that contract, we're all the same. If we're on the team, we're all the same. And I wanted a coach or a manager who was willing to look at all of us as the same. And I want all those guys to understand that, yeah, your playing time may not be equal, but you're going to get the same amount of time from me.
That's not common either in professional baseball, by the way.
No, it's not common in high school baseball.
Yeah, that's unheard of. Because I mean, as a player, even being a late round guy, sometimes in the back of your mind as a player is like, you're not equal to the 1st round guy or the 2nd round guy. So if you have a manager, a coach that's, making it feel that way, well, you're going to get the best ability out of that 25th rounder as you are out of the 1st or 2nd rounder. So
for sure. Well, we used to. I was on a couple different teams where we had some guys sitting on in the middle rows of that bus, because if you were sitting in the middle rows, you were the guys who were probably going to get released next, right? And we were the scrubinis, right? And we knew that. We took that personal. And so I'll tell you one more story that and I love, because I tell this in a really good friend of mine, coach by the name of Rod Olson. If you've never looked him up, Coach O, he's on the internet. He's written some books. He's a great mentor of mine. He's one of those Mount Rushmore of men in my life that I look to when I need things. And he was a football coach. He was at Appalachian State when they in their heyday, right? And he tells a story of a group of walk-on football players that are nothing more than tackling dummies, if you will. Those walk-on football players, they listen. You got no scholarship. You're not preferred. You're nothing. You're just the guys who get beat up on during the week. And well, they were asking a lot of those guys, right? Those scout team players, and they were just getting their brains beat in. And he noticed one day that they all had on their pads, on their forearms, or on the tape of their wrist, YCBM. What do you think that stands for? YCBM.
You can't break me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the mentality that you have to have. And that's where, it's easy for us to fall into the trap of, well, somebody doesn't like us. Somebody doesn't care for us, right? Oh, this guy's getting more playing time than me. Well, do something about it, right? You can't break me. You can't beat me. And that's where, my life has been that way. I don't look back on what I didn't do. I look forward to what we're going to do. And it's always been a set of challenges along the way. And so when I come across those guys that, I don't care if you're Mr. Irrelevant, if you're the last pick of the draft, player of mine Craig Perry, who is a coach at Abilene Christian, who we talk about all the time. He was the last player in the draft, but yet he still got an opportunity to play, and he made the most of it. And he got treated like he was a first-round pick. And that's the difference. You want to be a great coach, a great leader. That anybody can show up and gain knowledge of a swing or how to field a ball or how to throw a pitch. You know what? Again, at the very beginning, before we started rolling, you want to be a great coach. You want to be a great mentor. Figure out how to reach into somebody else's soul. You know, lead them in a different way. We used to call it, my dad, high school football coach. We, as silly as it was, we all knelt on the right knee. We looked at the right eye. Why do we do all of that? So we make the right decisions. He used to tell me, so Jeff, he said, listen, everybody has a hot button. It's up to you to find it. What makes them tick? You know, again, what is their purpose? Why they get up in the morning? Why they put their feet on the floor? Why do we put ourselves through this shit that we do on a daily basis? You think everybody wants to go to the gym every day and show up at 7 o'clock in the morning and getting swings in? No, it ain't easy, bro. I mean, you want to be special, do things, you know, that they're going to allow you to be special.
Oh yeah, it's not just going to happen.
No. And I think that's where a lot of this is. People think it's just going to happen. I'm just going to get that D1 scholarship. I'm just going to get drafted. I'm just going to, well, you know, and everybody's comparing themselves to big league hitters. Well, you know, Mike Trout isn't Mike Trout because he just got out of bed and he just went to a baseball field. He works just as hard as anybody in the game, you know.
Let me tell you a little secret about Mike Trout, and I'll tell you, Pujols, right? One of the greatest, you know, managed a lot of games against Mike Trout. Used to show up early, and he'd be out there on that field with him, with coaches, just him. Look, if he was having trouble throwing the ball to a base, you know what he was out there working on? Throwing the ball to fungo after fungo after fungo. He'd get out there and take them swings early before anybody else was on the field, taking, you know, fly balls in center. Look, you think he just showed up and knew how to climb that wall in center field? Absolutely not. It's a Larry Bird effect, right? When we would play St. Louis back when Pujols was in St. Louis, I used to love to go to the ballpark early in St. Louis because you know who I knew was going to be on the field hitting before anybody else got there, and that was Pujols. He was putting in the work, putting in the time so that he could do the thing. And he wasn't hitting homers. There were times that he would put his son out in right center, and he was trying to hit balls, blistered line drives at right center, just ball after ball after ball after ball. And there was no wonder that in the game, at some point in that game, he was going to hit a missile in that right center gap. Larry Bird effect. Larry Bird, when he was in the NBA, if he ever took a shot or he made a pass that maybe he screwed up in the game or he'd never taken before, after the game, when the game was over and everybody had gone home, he had a coach out there with him, and sometimes they laid mats on the floor. Like if he was taking the shot falling down, he would take that shot time and time again, work on that pass. There is no recipe other than putting in the time and the work to be great at something. Tiger Woods. The heyday of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was on the driving range well after everybody had gone home. Right? After a round that he just shot 61 in. Going out and still working on it. Yeah. You want to be great, put in the time.
Yeah. That's true.
It is, though. And we've been hearing, you know, a lot of guys talking about, you know, you talking about you want to do, you know, special things. It takes that work. What did Donald say? I'm trying to remember what he said. I forgot what he was talking, but that's what he was talking about. There's no, you know, there's one way to get there, and it all takes work to get there. Work is going to be involved no matter what, regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not all created equal. Physically, we're not. We're just not. I mean, again, I went back and I referenced it. You know, us three sitting here, I can promise you we didn't run, 6'1". I can guarantee it. So, but if we wanted to increase our speed, we had to get out and work on it.
Yeah, there's ways to get better.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what he was saying. He was talking about the way their team took batting practice, and they took it as if it was a very, very game-like. And he just simply said, listen, we do that because we can't make that play in the game if we hadn't made it before the game.
Yeah. Right.
And then that's how it worked.
Yeah, and in baseball too. And here's one thing that I love that when we watch highlights, right? What do we watch? We watch the athletic great play, right? We see Arenado going across a line and diving and getting up and throwing the ball across the diamond. That's great. I love that. However, it's the 25 other ground balls in between that are hit right at him that are the mundane throws that fire across the diamond. He never throws a ball away. He never throws it in the dirt. He doesn't mishandle them, right? That allows a base runner to be safe. That's the thing for me is that, Adrian Beltre, one of the all-time greatest third basemen.
Yep.
You know how his day started? He would start with Steve Buechele going out with a big giant bucket of balls, big barrel of balls, and hitting them right at him. Throwing a ball across the diamond. And they'd spend, 40, 45 minutes alone on routine balls. And if he missed one, keep hitting them. Then it'd work on backhands. They'd work on ball going to his right, to his left, drop steps, coming across, coming in. Every single day. Every day. In spring training, that's how there were younger guys who were spitting the bit and walking out. And he's still out there taking ground balls. There's no wonder why he was so great.
Hall of Famer.
Now,
he's going to be one.
If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, something's wrong.
Yeah, we were talking.
You just said that the other day.
We were talking about that too. Couple things to I don't know how anybody, especially coaches out there that listen to this podcast, if you didn't get anything, stop listening. But I do want to talk about a couple things real quick. One was during your time with the Rangers, you guys played the Astros, obviously. With all that went on and that came out, and we don't have to spend a ton of time getting it, but were there ever, looking back, instances, especially in Houston, where things like that you recall, or there were also people saying teams already knew what was going on? Was there any evidence to you about it during those times, especially in 17?
Well, here's the deal. Here's what I'll tell you. So I've been in this game for 35 years. Major League Baseball for 35 years. One of the first rule of thumb is that, you don't let another team, where there's base runners on, as a catcher, don't let the other team steal your signs. And if they do steal your signs and you see it and they make it evident, then you take care of it. Right? I mean, doesn't mean you don't. And I say that in the same breath, I'm telling my guys, look, you find a way to take advantage. Right? Now, I will say that, there's a certain line that you don't cross, in my opinion. Our things were a little gray well before 2017 across Major League Baseball. In my opinion, you go back and if you get videotape of as early as 2009, 2010, there were teams that were given multiple signs with nobody on base in, different ballparks, right? There were certain feelings you watch, and that's as a catcher, as a manager, as a coach, you know, I watch every hitter and I watch that relationship and you know, I know as a hitter you can't be on every single pitch. It's impossible. Guy's throwing 100 and your timing is right on 100, and then all of a sudden he throws you a slider and you're, you know, 88-mile-an-hour slider and your timing's right on that. You know, now all of a sudden my radar goes way up. Okay, what, you know, I'm looking all over the ballpark going, okay, I'm listening, I'm watching. What the hell just happened? Does it happen again? Okay, now I'm calling timeout and I'm talking to our pitchers. I'm talking to the catcher. I'm saying, okay, something's going on. Now, you know, were there times, you know, those guys, first of all, I interviewed for that job. I love those players. Those are great players on that team.
Absolutely.
Each one of us have been in the batter's box before and I know, hey, I've faced guys before. I knew what they were throwing. I still couldn't hit it. Right?
Yeah.
I've been told what was going to be thrown. Kurt Schilling used to throw that crap up there. I knew what was coming. Still couldn't hit it. So there's an element of being really, really good. Now, some of that makes you a little bit – now, without getting, you know, really specific there, you know, we took our own precautions, if you will.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to stomp our feet and throw our hands in the air. Look, when in battle, not all battles are fair. You battle what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And I'm not condoning or any of that. I'm just saying that, listen, any given night, there's no telling what you're up against.
Yeah. That's true.
I was just curious, honestly.
Same division and playing them a lot.
Well, and for them, I mean, in 15 you win the division, in 16 you win the division. In fact, I think you guys had the most wins in the American League in 16. And then for them to just in 17 explode, it just, you know, and then obviously that comes out. It just seemed a little fishy. That's all.
Yeah, we were still running them down in 17 too, and you know, we lost Beltre, we lost Gomez, we lost Hamels for a while. You know, look, there's and there are major league catchers who give away signs today. As we sit here today, there are major league catchers who give away signs, how they set up, their body language. It's why guys make millions of dollars playing poker. All right? Human body language, when you pay attention to it, you can figure out a whole lot of things. You don't need video cameras.
Yeah.
All right? There are pitchers today, any given moment in Major League Baseball, that they're going to give away their signs. My son just finished his high school career, right? He's going to go on to play college baseball. And one of the things we talk about all the time is that when you're facing pitchers, they're going to give away what they're getting ready to do almost every single pitch. If you tune in, and that's the thing that I would tell kids, don't watch the game anymore, but they don't play. And I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, right? I'm piss off a lot of organizations right now, but you know, I think that, you know, the perfect, I shouldn't call out, but I mean, there are a lot of places that players go play and they're scripted, right? It's like, you know, pitchers are going to go try to blow up the radar gun, so all they're throwing is fastballs. So there's no real, you know, and hitters are just trying to hit everything out of the ballpark or get it, you know, 102 off the radar gun, things like that. You know, that's how they're searching for their opportunity. Yet we are diminishing the brand of baseball and dulling the instincts of players because they don't watch, they don't pay attention. You look at guys on deck, And they're sure as hell not watching the pitcher and understanding what the pitcher's trying to do to the hitter before them. And they're not doing it in the dugout. They're not watching for all those little different things. Pitchers aren't watching the swing. Does this guy have a flat bat path? Does he have that launch angle swing? Can I get the ball above him upstairs? How does he create separation? Does he stay back? What does he do when this guy got 2 strikes on him? They got to be told now. You watch a major league game today, and you tell me the shortstop that's giving the pitch or sign to his third baseman anymore. Doesn't do it.
Yeah.
The reason why that doesn't happen anymore is because they're all positioned in a place to where we think the ball is going to be hit if it's hit on the ground. It's all great, but we've kind of dulled that first step quickness for our infielders. The ability to read the barrel, right? Look, you go back and look at great center fielders of the day, and they all had one thing in common. If you were to watch video of these guys, they're moving before that ball ever makes contact with that barrel, because they've learned to read the swing. They can see the pitch. They've locked in. Their senses are so heightened about the game, right? Tony Gwynn started hitting more home runs. Why? Because he changed his bat angle? No. Because Ted Williams told him, quit trying to hit the inside pitch the other way. Right?
Yeah.
And Tony Gwynn all of a sudden says, oh, okay, what? And he could still hit the ball the other way. So, it's why I love high school baseball, because you have this great diversity of abilities, right? And you've got that 9-hole hitter over there who's hitting maybe 180, but yet if you've been smart enough to teach him a skill set that at any given at bat, he can perform a skill to help you score a run or put a player in position to score a run. But if all we're doing is teaching him how to manufacture a swing, he's just going to pop up, strike out because he's too weak to get it past this pitcher that he's facing.
Yeah. Yeah, that 9-hitter could be as big as asset as your 3-hitter.
Yeah.
Well, my 9-hitter in 2015 was pretty good. It was Elvis Andrus. I convinced him to hit down there, and we scored more runs out of the lower tier part of the lineup than anybody in baseball. So they all have to be able to perform a skill at any point in the game.
Yeah, well, you're speaking of guys on deck, and it just brings to mind of probably one of the funniest ejections that we've seen. I just want to know,
was it the all-time out of all the years? Is it the all-time worst?
It was West, right? Wasn't it Joe West?
No, it was Jerry Lane.
Oh,
it was Jerry. So what was kind of the funniest part of all that, right, was just Adrian's reaction to being thrown out. And, you got to go back and look, he was chasing 3,000.
Yeah.
He's stuck on 290. I mean, he's one hit away. Now, that game against the Orioles, it was a rain delay to begin with. Full house. We're getting our brains beat in. I mean, Baltimore's just beating limb shit out of us. And it's after midnight, and the stands are still full. The only reason why Adrian's in the game is because he's got one more at bat coming, and I'm going to make sure that he gets it. And so he's out there on deck, standing in a place where he always stands. Well, Buck and them had been kind of complaining about it and everything. And so Jerry Lane got tired of them wolfing from the dugout. So he walks in and he tells Adrian, you got to stand on the mat. You got to get on the on deck circle. You got to stand on the on deck circle, which nobody does.
No.
And so when he went over and pulled that, I'm going, oh shit. And he threw Adrian out, and then I really went, oh my God. And so when I went out there, I'm gonna stand up for all my guys. I don't care what it cost. And I said some things, he said some things, and then he said, Manny, he can't show me up like that. He can't show me up like that. And I said, Jerry, show you up. And so he's facing center field, and I'm facing back towards home plate. And I said, I want you to do me a favor. I said, I want you to turn around. I says, because prior to you throwing him out, the stands were full. I said, right now there's nobody in the stands because they were here for one reason and one reason only. And you just deprived them of that. I said, I'm not going to be the one that's getting the phone call after this game. And so it was, the whole, sometimes it was a funny ejection. The conversation was funny. And at the end of the night, the next day, Adrian got 3,000 and all was well in the world. But I think I was in the minor leagues managing Lynchburg, Virginia, high A ball. A situation where Jose Guillen hits a home run. Chad Hermanson's on first base. There's a 3-2 count, 2 outs. It's like the third inning or so, fourth inning. And Jose hits his ball, towering. It hits a light pole and falls back down in left field. Left fielder goes over, picks it up, and just throws it to the side. And, Jose runs around the bases, home run. Opposing manager comes out, asks the umpire. There's only 2 umpires in. They're young umpires back then. And he said, "You sure that was a home run?" And he's kind of talking back forth. And Jim Bibby was my pitching coach at the time, and they're taking forever. And I told Jim, I said, they're getting ready to tell me that wasn't a home run. He's, oh, Manny, no way. That ball would have been in a cemetery. I'm like, it wasn't no doubter. It hits the top of the light pole. And so sure enough, here come the umpires. And they're trying to convince me that ball hit the wall. I'm like, what? And it's double wall. And the umpire told me. And I said, well, how do you know it hit the wall, not the pole? The sound. I said, the sound. So you can tell the difference between the wall and the light pole? He says, oh, yeah. I heard it perfectly. I said, no, the only thing you heard was the echo from one ear to the other because there ain't shit in between. Well, he doesn't throw me out. And so again, I'm determined because it's wrong. It's wrong. And so finally, I'm tired of yelling, tired of arguing, and I start walking away back down the third base line. And I take my hat off, and I'm going to hit my foot. Just kind of one of those. And my foot hits my hat, and it kicks my hat up in the sky. And as my hat's falling back down, I hear, "You're out of here." I'm like, after all that crap I just said to you, throw me out for that? And I said, no, we ain't playing that game. I went over to first base. And, minor leagues and all that. So this pre-cell phone cameras. I go over to first base. I grab the first base bag. I go to second base, and I grab second base. I'm getting to third base, and I'm going, I'm not going to be able to get third base unless I get rid of one of these bases. And so I take one of them and I throw them like a discus up on top of the clubhouse, because the clubhouse in Lynchburg was close to the third base line. I grab third base and I eventually throw all three of them up on the locker room. Not my best moment in baseball, by the way. But here's where I tell you, when I told you at some point that baseball has a cruel sense of humor, well, it has a sense of humor also, because how that game ended after I got ejected, extra innings, Chad Hermanson on first base, 3-2 count, 2 outs, tie ball game. Jose Guillen hits a home run straightaway center field. No doubt. Well, the cemetery wasn't in left field. It was straightaway center field, and that ball did go into the cemetery. So,
baseball.
But that might have been one that, yeah, God's, whatever you want it. It's a magical game.
Yeah.
That is a good ejection, though.
Yeah.
Well, I could do this literally all day long. One, I appreciate you taking some time to talk with us and made it very easy. Like I said, if anybody didn't get anything gold out of that, they need to stop listening or get out of the game. It's no wonder you're a big league manager and have been in professional baseball for as long as you have. And honestly, when the book comes out, let us know, because there's so much good stuff that, I mean, I'm trying to listen to the last few podcasts and some of the interviews you've done. And I was telling Chad, listening to you talk, it's so easy and effortless. It's like you breathe it. Hopefully I can continue to get to that point.
We're going to borrow some of that knowledge.
Absolutely. I hope everybody, borrows some of that, because that was awesome stuff. And like I said, thank you for doing this. And maybe we can, when you find a new home in the big leagues somewhere, we'll do it again.
Absolutely, guys. And it's my pleasure. Anytime. Thank you so much. And good luck to you. All right. Stay safe.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You too.
That's episode 66, Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or Die.